Kikoru quickly wiped away her tears. She stood up and apologized to her father for not being able to protect her mother and left. Back to the present. That's the reason why Kikoru has been seeking power all this time. She wants to protect everyone on her battlefield, in place of her mother. As long as she's there, no one will die. Kikoru gritted her teeth and continued to fight bravely. Suddenly Kaiju number 9 arrogantly changed his tone and said, "You almost succeeded there." Meanwhile, right below Kikoru, countless lumps of flesh were swelling up. He planned to shoot Kikoru from below. What a scumbag. Kikoru realized it but feared it was too late. The spectators were horrified by the scene. They feared Kikoru's legs would be blown off. Isao clenched his fist, watching his daughter in danger. Kafka, the old man, dashed with all his might, delivering a super kick to the ant's leg. Of course, it did nothing, but at least it made the ant lose its balance. Kaiju number 9 noticed this deceitful act, but alas. Kafka's leg also broke into several pieces. Does it hurt? Of course it does. But now it's Kikoru's turn. Kaiju number 9 realized he had been trapped. Kikoru blinked and appeared in front of him, unleashing the 6th form of her battle axe, a special move, Daruma Autoshire, a heavy 4-strike spinning slash, instantly cutting the monster into 4 pieces. Kikoru screamed, "Do it now." Kafka stepped back a little, starting to tense his muscles. Kikoru had cleared the way. Now it's Kafka's turn to shine. But just as he was about to transform, the image of Kaiju number 8 appeared in his mind, lurking, waiting for this moment, to pounce on Kafka as soon as he transforms. Damn it, this is bad. Kaiju number 8 emerged, punching a hole through Kikoru's chest. Kaiju number 8 even slaughtered all the human warriors. It turned out to be just an illusion. A warning from Kafka's body. He looked at his hand, covered in fresh blood, failing to transform once again. The supervisor yelled, "Kaiju number 8 failed again." Kikoru was surprised. Now Kafka realized, it wasn't Kaiju number 9's fault, but it was his own. At this moment Kikoru was still trying, fighting back against Kaiju number 9's fierce counterattack. Kikoru was at her limit. Number 9 also pointed his finger towards Kafka. Kafka's armor was shattered. Many bullets pierced through the old man. At this moment, the old man realized why he couldn't transform. It was fear. The deep-seated fear within Kafka. Kafka lay on the ground, blood pouring from his mouth. The fear of himself, losing control and slaughtering his comrades, prevented Kafka from activating the Kaiju number 8 form. So that's what it was. But at this moment, Kikoru stood in front of Kafka, and tried to protect him. She drew her gun and pointed it straight at the monster, shouting, "Don't underestimate me like that." The monster started firing. Kikoru didn't even dodge but advanced forward. This girl truly wasn't afraid of death. She continued speaking, "Not just me, but also our comrades. Commander Ashiro, Hashina, Ichikawa, and the others. More than anyone, don't look down on yourself like that. And believe in your comrades." It turns out these words were all meant for Kafka. She was smart to figure out the old man's mental block. After hearing this, Kafka smiled. It turns out he was just an idiot. How could he easily defeat such strong and badass comrades like these? He had worried too much. Just then, a blinding light began to burst out. Muscles tensed. The old man roared to the sky. Number 9 was immediately drawn to it. Kikoru knew that her monstrous old man had successfully transformed. She smiled, "Damn it, this guy Kafka Hibino is always late." Meanwhile, old man Kafka, his whole body gleaming, lightning crackling around him, stared intently at number 9. Meanwhile, on the other battlefields, the forces of the 1st Division were struggling to fight back against the newly empowered beasts. AG decided that, instead of expanding the perimeter, they would hold the line and not let a single monster pass. Shinomiya began to feel stuck, because the monsters kept resurrecting after being killed. Dragging out the battle would exhaust the human forces. At this moment, the radio announced the appearance of Kaiju number 8. Narumi had been waiting for this news. Finally, it came. This was good news. That could change the battlefield's tide. Meanwhile, Shinomiya was worried about Kikoru. Kafka slowly advanced, and number 9 began to sneer, saying, "I knew it was you," but instead, number 9's face seemed rather excited. As he spoke, numerous lumps of flesh began to grow from his back. He started making strange noises. The corpses of the beasts began to stir. Kikoru clicked her tongue, knowing that this monster was up to his old tricks. As she turned toward Kaiju number 9, a terrifying sight unfolded as 2 pairs of wings grew from his back. Damn it, could it actually fly now? Kikoru suspected that this beast had more bizarre hidden abilities. Too unpredictable. Suddenly, a firm and warm hand was placed on Kikoru's shoulder. The rough voice of the catastrophic monster version of Kafka echoed, "Thank you, Kikoru, well done." This immediately made Kikoru's eyes glisten. Kafka said he still didn't fully believe in himself, but he fully believed 100% in her. Frozen for 3 seconds, Kikoru arrogantly replied, "Whatever." The old man added, asking Kikoru to handle the ants for him. Kikoru scoffed that She couldn't believe Kafka would leave the small fries to her. But that's okay. But if Kafka loses, Kikoru will personally deal with the old man in the most brutal way. Kafka's veins bulged as he listened, and he immediately vowed to definitely punch number 9 into a pile of crap. He stomped the ground to gather momentum. The ground couldn't bear it and instantly cracked. Kafka shot forward like a bolt of lightning. The soldier ants tried to block his way, but Kikoru blasted them apart with explosive rounds. Kafka successfully pierced through number 9's defensive line. Well, the old man has arrived, number 9 remarked. Seeing Kafka rushing in, he added, I owe you quite a bit, Kaiju number 8, because it was our last battle. That allowed me to successfully evolve. Literally, in fact. I've broken through. Kafka didn't understand, but at that moment, it seemed Kafka was being pushed back. It turns out, the monster had completed 2 gigantic jet engines. Number 9 declared, now I'll kill you. Suddenly number 9 felt pain and looked down. Turns out number 8 had stolen his heart. No, Kafka realized he had grabbed the wrong core. This core was just from the ant, it's fine. Kafka turned back to face number 9, his eyes cold as ice. He said, watching you fight Kikoru earlier, it seems like your core isn't in the ant's body, is it? Number 9 heard this, felt offended, and cursed, you son of a. He raised his hand and unleashed a barrage of firepower. Big guns, small guns. All guns fired at once. Kafka this time used his own fists to block the attack. After fighting with the old man last time, and facing Kaiju number 8, Kafka realized that he hadn't exploited even a fraction of Kaiju number 8's potential. How ironic. Kafka transformed his leg and dashed forward. He ran directly along the wall, perpendicular to the ground. How did he do that, boss? So that's it. A suction device in his heel, created by Kafka. This illogical movement made it impossible for the monsters to calculate. It turns out Kafka was trying to close the distance and engage in close combat with number 9. He made an insanely long jump. The arc of the jump helped Kafka land behind another ant, and he casually punched it, breaking its back, killing it instantly. Kafka thought that the last time, when Kaiju number 8 took over his body, it allowed his body and mind to absorb a lot of knowledge about the body and powers of a monster, and because of that, Kafka's control over his abilities became smoother and more creative. Just as he landed, the ground rose up. As Kaiju number 9's body emerged, he wanted to pin Kaiju number 8 to the ground. He smugly said, got you now. But in the blink of an eye, Kafka leapt into the air. The tentacles of Kaiju number 9 couldn't hold Kafka at all. Couldn't hold Kafka at all. His heels began to spark with electricity. A loud bang, and Kafka dove down at supersonic speed. Kaiju number 9 looked up at him, thinking this guy is unbelievable. Last time we fought, number 8 didn't have this move. Kafka then enhanced his entire body. His muscles tensed and grew larger. Kafka firmly declared, this time I won't let you escape. Before Kaiju number 9 realized the difference, a gigantic punch was already incoming. He had to raise both hands to block it. The force of the punch was so strong that the area around Kaiju number 9 was crushed down several meters. The ant carrying Kaiju number 9 was instantly crushed. At this moment, Kaiju number 9, his face and bones were cracked by the terrifying shockwave from that supersonic punch. Then he exploded, literally exploded into pieces, flesh flying everywhere. Everyone was horrified by this power. So this is the true strength of Kaiju number 8, killing another designated Kaiju with just one punch. Deputy Commander Itami was also sweating bullets. Meanwhile, the slimy remains of Kaiju number 9 were boiling. He was trying to regenerate, but unfortunately, the process couldn't succeed, due to the severe damage to the core. Kaiju number 9 on this side had to contact the beta version on the other side, asking him to return for merging. The beta version of Kaiju number 9 was a bit confused, and finally replied to the other side saying, doesn't seem possible, because his opponent on this side was also fighting fiercely. The original on the other side got angry and shouted, what? I'm here fighting Kaiju number 8. The beta version told him to take it easy, because he was still learning. Meanwhile, Narumi was responding to his comrades asking, what would happen if Kaiju number 8 went berserk? Of course, he would personally intervene. He couldn't let Kikoru handle it alone. Narumi then released 98% of his combat power. Immediately, the control room turned the area around Narumi into a no-go zone to prevent unnecessary casualties. Narumi swung his weapon and severed one of the ant's pincers. The beta version of number 9 realized the potential of that large knife. Not only did it cut sharply, but it also inflicted burning wounds. This significantly limited its regeneration capabilities. So it decided to create distance and then use long-range guns to take down this human. But before it could act, Narumi shot it to pieces, leaving its body riddled with holes. Now the beta version realized this weapon was Narumi's personalized weapon. Both a gun and a blade, he said as he raised his hand and unleashed a barrage of fire. But these shots didn't trouble Narumi. Yet Beta kept firing continuously. while closely observing Narumi's abilities. He assessed that it seemed like Narumi had a perfect balance of offense and defense. Whether at long range or close combat, he had the advantage. But in reality, there were certain weaknesses. At this moment, Beta began dodging Narumi's bullets like a superhero, even running on walls. It seemed to have figured out Narumi's shooting pattern. It moved extremely fast in a zigzag pattern, catching even Narumi off guard. Beta charged in and counterattacked. Narumi switched the barrel of his gun, preparing for close combat. Narumi slashed, but the monster dodged it. It declared that it had learned, and at close range, it started firing at Narumi. Narumi quickly dodged to the side. After the dust settled, countless lumps of flesh had grown everywhere. Narumi realized the creature's tactic was to surround him. It spread its body all over the place, then unleashed a barrage of fire from all directions, targeting Narumi directly. Tearing the entire street apart, Narumi's fate was unclear. The admin could only scream the commander's name. In horror, Itami observed the battle and realized, this Kaiju number 9, was indeed a special type, able to learn and grow during the fight. Isao also noted that it was obvious. The monster's appearance had changed a lot from the description by the third unit. Isao feared that the reason this monster kept blending in with humans was perhaps because it wanted to learn. Nobody really knows how long it's been learning, or what it has already learned. Isao assessed that this monster has attributes very similar to a virus. Itami also stated that in history, there has never been a monster like this. After saying that, the staff felt chills, getting goosebumps all over. Suddenly, a voice came over the radio, "Damn, that was scary. But I'm still fine." Everyone was shocked as it was the commander. Narumi was still alive. He declared that he himself was far more dangerous than this monster. At this moment, Beta saw Narumi standing strong, and was somewhat surprised. Unable to understand how, but Isao wasn't surprised at all. He knew well that this guy was as tough as nails. Narumi declared that his suit was fully heated up, and the real hunt was about to begin. Narumi's eyes were too strange. Even the kaiju took notice. Beta assessed that those eyes were somewhat similar to a kaiju's. But before he could finish, Narumi shot him in the chest. Beta couldn't understand how. He clearly thought he could dodge such a simple shot. Damn it, it turns out the specialty lies in Narumi's eyes. Those eyes were his second personal weapon, called RT-01, created from the retina of a kaiju, the first designated. And so Beta was repeatedly shot full of holes by Narumi. All parts of its body were easily blown apart by Narumi. Beta was even more shocked when Narumi seemed to be shooting faster and faster. In the end, it wasn't just that. He was pulling the trigger on places where Beta hadn't even moved to yet. Isao explained that it was because Kaiju number 1 had a wide and comprehensive vision. Its pupils could detect brainwaves of its opponents and simulate near-future movement patterns. Kaiju number 1 was truly terrifying, and it was recorded as such. Narumi finally found the core. He immediately declared, "I see it. All your signals are converging at one point. That must be the core." Kaiju number 9 was now helpless. He couldn't keep up with Narumi's movements. Narumi zipped past the monster, unleashing the second form, Blazing Slash. The monster's body was sliced into several pieces. Flames burned at the open wounds. The observers were stunned. Then, the monster's flesh began to ignite and explode. What a spectacular finishing blow. The observers were mesmerized. Words stuck in their throats, unable to speak. Finally, the announcement rang out. Commander Narumi and Kaiju number 8 successfully defeated the original monster. The entire control room erupted in celebration, because a series of energy signals from the revived monsters were gradually disappearing from the screens. Isao was about to remind everyone that we weren't done yet, but a calm female voice spoke before him. It was Kikoru. She loudly stated that there were still many stray monsters running rampant, and they needed to be eliminated. Every last one of them. Isao was stunned. He hadn't expected his daughter to mature this much. Itami beside him could only praise her. "Your daughter has become even stronger." Was Isao happy with this compliment? Perhaps he was. He told Itami that Narumi had also become stronger. Clearly, the kids of this generation keep surprising them, including Kikoru and Kafka. They had exceeded his expectations. Meanwhile, Kikoru continued to fight, and Eiji assessed the entire battle, stating that this time, they achieved minimal losses. Even though two bosses appeared simultaneously, he vaguely realized that this might indeed be the strongest unit, just as Isao had said. Then the battle report rang out, announcing that the defense of Shinagawa was officially over. With all monsters completely exterminated, Kafka reverted to his human form and exhaled. Seeing the blonde girl still holding her gun, Kafka walked over. The two fist bumped. "Let's keep this up, bro." Isao felt quite satisfied. He directly called out the names of the three, Narumi, Kafka, and Kikoru. "You three did well." Kikoru's eyes sparkled, like a cat being petted by someone, and then she noticed Kafka looking at her. To keep Kikoru from feeling embarrassed, The old man gave her 2 thumbs up. Kikoro was on the verge of tears. Old man Isao gave one last order. Continue to prioritize the safety of the civilians. And maintain the formation. Kikoro and Kafka immediately complied. Meanwhile, Narumi was pondering something strange. He had overheard number 9 telling Kafka that, "I will kill you and take that great power." Narumi understood the first part, but the second part seemed too suspicious. He wasn't sure what it meant. Narumi wondered if number 9 wanted to kill number 8, just for personal revenge, or for some other mysterious purpose. Just then, an alarm sounded. The signal of the original monster echoed repeatedly. Everyone was confused about what was happening. The admin room was frantically trying to figure out what it was. Then a voice suddenly echoed where Kafka stood. "We did it," making Kafka and Kikoro jump. They realized it was the voice of Kaiju number 9, coming from that pile of flesh over there. He said, "Too bad. Kaiju number 8, I may not have been able to kill you, but I won another victory." Kafka didn't understand, and shouted, "Damn it, don't you know when to admit defeat?" Kaiju number 9 declared, "I have won another victory." Kafka heard it clearly and felt uneasy. Victory over what? He wondered. The monster's head continued to speak slyly. "I will obtain that powerful monster strength." Kafka still didn't understand. Kikoro only heard a scream over the radio. It turned out that her father was the target of this kaiju. Unfortunately, Isao had a body compatible with this monster, and also possessed the extremely powerful strength of Kaiju number 2. Then the body of the monster melted away, leaving nothing behind. The old man was still trying to figure out what its real plan was. Suddenly, Kafka shouted over the radio, "Captain Narumi. Both of these were not its real body, so those others were just decoys." Kafka immediately transformed into Kaiju and dashed away. Narumi did the same, both heading straight to the rear command center. At that moment, everyone in the control room was shocked. The commander-in-chief ordered the evacuation of all personnel. Only then did everyone dare to move, and began to panic and flee. But Kaiju number 9 raised its hand, and immediately blew up the entire control room. Oh, the admin guy is still alive. Turns out, Isao had used a military suitcase to shield them from the blast. Isao ordered Itami and Nojizaka to evacuate the staff. Isao realized that this creature came to steal his power. A proud warrior will face it directly. So understand this, Isao will not die nor retreat. He will definitely smash this monster to pieces. Nojizaka, feeling insulted, shouted angrily, "Why are you pushing me aside like this? I will join the fight too." Isao simply waved his hand and signaled to Itami, saying, the two of them would only hinder him. This monster was too powerful. Then Isao, as fast as lightning, opened his suitcase and donned his battle armor. Standing before Kaiju number 9, his body trembling like a zombie, he stood still, observing. Number 9 grumbled, not expecting Beta and Gamma to be defeated so quickly, considering they were as strong as he was before he evolved. Ah, so he's bragging that he's even stronger now. But Isao paid no attention to these words. He only thought that his decision to create the strongest team in history was right, because even if something happens to him, Kafka and Narumi's team will still handle it. Isao said, "I was prepared for this." But he didn't expect the evolution of this kaiju to surpass his wildest imagination. Then number 9 swung its fist and charged forward. Both clashed with such force that the air itself tore apart. After witnessing this, Itami immediately ordered a full evacuation of the troops. In Itami's mind, the reports from the 3rd unit flashed by about this monster. If Kaiju number 9's regeneration rate remained at 8.5, Isao could certainly hold his ground. But the reality was far different. Isao lost in the very first exchange of strength. He was punched into the ground. Itami was stunned, and Nojizaka couldn't believe his eyes. The strongest man in history was defeated just like that. Isao lay crushed on the ground. Kaiju number 9 muttered to himself, wondering if he had become too strong. Itami was terrified, sweating profusely, seeing Isao's eyes turn white, as the kaiju prepared to deliver a fatal blow to end Isao. Suddenly, a burst of energy erupted from below. Layers of blinding light shot out. Number 9 was shocked. In Isao's mind, the image of his wife and daughter, Hikari, smiling brightly appeared, flashed vividly. Then a resolute voice echoed, "No matter what, I will defeat you right here, right now." Narumi ran while listening intently to the radio, silently hoping that nothing had gone wrong. "Please, those there, hold the situation together." A worried expression crossed his face. Narumi kept running at full speed. Meanwhile, Itami was working to evacuate everyone. He ordered everyone to hurry up, and not to hinder Commander Isao. The old commander stood tall, bravely facing Kaiju number 9. At that moment, the admin guy contacted the commander and said that everyone had been evacuated, and he asked if the commander should evacuate as well, because the situation seemed too dangerous. But he received a refusal in response. The old man said he couldn't escape, because this monster could pinpoint his location. Instead, the old commander told the admin guy to leave quickly. But the admin remembered how Isao had rushed out to save the entire monitoring team. Suddenly, he felt he needed to stand by the commander's side. At that moment, the admin guy boldly told the commander, "My duty is to assist you to the final victory, so please allow me to stay." Commander Isao closed his eyes. As if sensing the determination of the young man, he simply said softly, "All right, I understand." Then, the entire body of the old commander burst with power. He shouted, "Now, let's do this." Instinctively, the admin guy felt a bit of pressure and fear, sweat pouring down. He knew that, when a warrior unleashes monster power at this level, it shortens their lifespan. In exchange, humanity gains the power of a true monster, in the form of a human being. At this moment, the entire body of the commander began to glow. Lightning crackled all around him. A massive force enveloped his entire body. He gritted his teeth, and then, both of them charged at each other, exchanging blows. A spectacular close combat scene unfolded. Everything around them was torn to dust. The admin guy was immediately terrified. He couldn't believe the immense power unleashed when Kaiju number 2 is fully released. It was overwhelming. This was the first time he witnessed it. But after the second power clash, Commander Isao's entire body seemed to be cracking, and was being pushed back by the monster. It seemed very painful. The admin guy couldn't believe it. So powerful yet still being pushed back. Kaiju number 9 seemed excited. It praised, "Yes, this is how it should be. This is worth taking over." But it wasn't in good shape either. The arm that clashed with Isao was also torn apart. Blood gushed out uncontrollably. Commander Isao then stomped hard on the ground, unleashing the fourth